Hello and welcome to Sierra Make. This week's video is going to be a little bit different because I am making stepping stones with my sister's Girl Scout troop. They are having a bridging ceremony soon, which is where they level up. Basically, they graduate from one level up to the next, and they have a little ceremony where they bridge, and they're going to be bridging across their own personal stepping stones. I'm never one to pass up an opportunity to make something, and since this is such an easy project, anybody can do it, it's very child-friendly, I decided to tag along with the troop and use any scraps that they don't use. So let's jump right in with the materials that you need for this project. And where'd you get these little trays from?
I just ordered those on Amazon. I got 20 for, they're basically like 50 cents a piece.
What are they originally for?
Oh, they go on the bottom of a potted plant to hold the water.
Oh.
The wire is to stop it from like basically breaking in half because concrete cracks all the time.
And the chicken wire came from?
From the garden.
Okay.
I just cut squares and then rounded them off. We'll probably spray them with some Pam or dish soap is something else I saw people use.
And all of these tile pieces?
Yeah, these are from an old project. These I 3D printed because they're bridging. The girls are bridging. And then I made some Sculpey pieces too, just so they could have a year in it if they wanted it. Mm-hmm. And then, yeah, all the things are just craft supplies I had laying around. These are stained glass pieces. This is aquarium rock. These are off a belt. They're like little metal studs. Sea glass. These are like stained glass mosaic pieces. I don't know what you call them. I call them Mancala pieces. But I guess
fish tank rocks.
Yeah, they could be for fish tanks too. Any pieces you put in, they should be like glass or stone or metal, tile, nothing porous like wood or leaves, you know, because they won't keep in the stepping stone. It's a concrete mixing bucket, and you can just roll it to mix it instead of having to do it really hard with a shovel.
It's designed to roll? Is that why?
Yes. And it's got these things that mix it.
Huh.
Mix the material. I ordered some liquid nails to glue in pieces that pop out. Comes in like a caulking tube, but it works on cement. And know that you probably need a little bit of space around each of your pieces, Julia. I'm looking at yours from here. Okay. Because you have to be able to push them into the concrete, and the concrete kind of oozes up around it a little bit.
Yeah.
So
should I like move it a little bit?
Well, you're probably gonna not want to use all of those when you put them in. You can leave them in there for now, but know that when there's cement in there, you're not gonna be able to put them that close together.
Okay. So now we are on the designing phase of this project, which is arguably the most fun and creative aspect of this activity. I showed you a few sneak peeks of what some of the Girl Scouts did, and you could see that they designed it straight into their little trays, whereas I'm using this board right here. They designed theirs straight into the trays because then they could stack them and save them for the next meeting, whereas I did mine all at once, so I'm just using this board and I can transfer it straight into my tray once it's filled with concrete. So let's move on to the mixing of the concrete. So basically, we're just going to grab that concrete mixing bucket and follow the instructions.
This is actually Patcher. The other one I used was just regular concrete.
One thing to keep in mind when you're picking what type of concrete to use is you probably want one with fewer large rocks in it. So regular concrete will have a lot of rocks, and those will be kind of in the way of any design that you make, versus this Patcher, which is mostly dust.
And then just know that there's going to be a lot of dust flying when you dump it.
Should have made the hole a little bit bigger.
So this Patcher is meant for repairing concrete things like sidewalks or yeah, anything made out of concrete. And because it has such a fine texture, it means you'll get a smoother finished look at the end. Since I have two sisters, we ended up doing this project twice, and the first time around we used a concrete that had larger pieces of gravel in it and ended up being a little bit more wet, which made it break apart a little bit easier, you'll see at the end. And then the second time we used this patcher, which is a lot finer, and the stepping stones stayed together a lot better.
This is definitely less rocky than the other stuff.
Yeah.
Which is better.
Yeah. Because the rocks, I think, it made it hard for them to lay it down flat.
Yeah, and some got more rocks than others.
Yeah.
So I definitely recommend using a finer concrete for this project, and make sure to not add too much water or it will break apart later.
Water requirement. A 40-pound bag requires approximately 3 quarts or 2.9 liters.
Okay, so this is 1.5 liters to the top.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Really? You just fill the lid?
Mm-hmm.
And it gives you... What?
It's a cool tool, like I said.
That is a cool tool. Show me those lines again. Wow, so it has the measurements on top. Really? And that flat thing and that's the water for it? Really?
Yep. So that it doesn't cake into the holes or the bottom, I'm just going to get the mix this a little bit before I add the rest, so it's not stuck in the corners.
Yeah. A hand? Ah!
I feel like this is going to need a little more water, honestly. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I need a girl to come push this across. Heather, you're up. Push it with your foot.
Go, girl. Yeah, let's go. Do it. I don't need you.
They're all so lethargic. Need so much more water.
That's the amount that it said.
I know. Oh, sorry.
Whee. Yeah, that sounds wet.
Water.
Oh.
Okay, well,
It's water.
it's water. Wow. Okay, so here we have a fix.
Yeah.
Can you carry that other cement bag from downstairs?
Yes.
Okay.
So, quick tip, if your concrete is too watery, just add more. Let's move on to filling our trays. So remember, we have our tray with chicken wire, and we are going to use that Pam oil spray to spray the bottom of it, just so that we get a quick release from the concrete later on.
Oh, one thing.
I want to touch
There's
it.
a can of, it's not that big of a deal, but if you spray the bottom of your trays, it'll make it easier to get out.
Yeah.
It'll be fine, but there's a thing of olive oil over there.
Yeah, so it's not a big deal if you don't spray your mold. But anyways, go ahead and put down 1 glop of concrete and then place your chicken wire in, kind of pressing it in, and then fill up the rest of your little tray or mold or cardboard box. And now it's time to decorate it. Yes, I probably should have been using gloves here just to stay nice and clean and not touch the concrete directly because I got a little messy. And also later on, I ended up using a pair of tweezers to really place my pieces in the concrete. Also, I should let you know that I used the first version of concrete, which was the one with a ton of gravel and ended up being too wet. So later on, my piece ended up breaking apart a little bit. That's why I keep dabbing it with a paper towel to try and dry up those little pools. But I will show you the 2 different versions at the end of this video. Finally, it's time for the drying process. This part's a little bit more tedious. You want to keep your stepping stones out of the sun for maybe 2 to 3 days. And you also want to water them. Yes, that's right, water them. Basically just sprinkle a little bit of water on top of them every single day for about a week. Then you can pop them out of their containers. They should be hardened, and you could water it maybe for a couple days after that as well. When you pop it out of the container, meaning the concrete's dry enough to stay together, you also have the opportunity to scrub off any of the concrete that is covering your design. So that's what I'm going to do now.
Pour water on it? Yeah, I just keep pouring water because it solidifies it more. Makes it stronger.
Like the body just...
Oh no! That's okay. I ordered some liquid nails. You can kind of scrape a little too. You just have to be gentle. I ordered some liquid nails to glue in pieces that pop out. It's a cement, like, comes in like a caulking tube, but it works on cement. You know, I usually pour water on it every day for like a week.
But isn't it not supposed to be in the sun?
Well, the first few days it's not. That's why I had it over in the shade for the first 3 days.
Okay. Once the whole drying process is done and you've cleaned off your tile pieces to make your design pop, you can go ahead and glue in any of the pieces that haven't stuck, like these.
And these, oh yeah, that didn't stick.
And then you're done. So I'm going to show you the stepping stones we got to keep. Here's this one, which is the one my sister made. And it is also using the first batch, so you can see those little gravel pieces in there. Here is the one I made, also with that first batch of concrete, so it had quite a bit of gravel and it was really wet, especially around the corners, which is where it broke apart. So the wetter the concrete, the less likely it is to stay together. You can actually see the chicken wire poking out there, so you can see it kind of held it together, but also it was just a little too wet on those edges. Here is a stepping stone from the second batch. As you can see, it looks so much smoother and it didn't really break apart except for that little bit on the edge there where there wasn't a whole lot of it holding together. This stepping stone is my other sister's, so let's compare the first batch to the second batch. As you can see, the first batch, aka mine, has broken apart a little bit too much on those edges. The design isn't super visible, but then the second batch is super visible and you can see it looks nice, smooth, very clean. I mean, it's not really a big deal because once you put these stepping stones in the ground, most of it's going to be buried. As long as the top of it stays together, that's really all that matters. Lastly, let's take a look at the one that was poured into a cardboard box. This was just because we had a ton of extra concrete left, and so my mom just poured it into a box and placed some rocks on top of it, kind of in a flower shape. Again, this is a super easy and fun, kid-friendly project to do. They did it for their bridging ceremony for Girl Scouts, but you could do it just with your kids to have a little memorable, permanent, concrete stone that you can place in your garden. That's it for this video, so like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will see you next week, Friday at 3. Thank you for watching.
Ouch, ouch, I stepped on something sharp.
What is this for again?
So they're bridging to the next level of Scouts, and so we're going to put stepping stones on the ground and they'll bridge across it in the ceremony.